From the Bluff City, Memphis, Tennessee, we welcome you back to Stauffer Field on the beautiful campus of Rhodes College for what has shaped up to be a thrilling rubber match in this three-game series between Millsaps and Rhodes. Each team has landed a punch. Millsaps rode a dominant performance from Nick Tarantino yesterday in Game 1, silencing that Rhodes offense. But Rhodes answered right back in Game 2, lighting up the scoreboard for 7 runs and evening the series in an extra inning thriller punctuated by a Corbin Kinder walk-off. Now it all comes down to this one game to decide the series. The stage is set, the tension is real, and we've got a great one coming your way. Alongside Tyler Springs, I'm Steven Swoner, happy to be with you on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Memphis, Tennessee. And Tyler, for Millsaps, I want to start with this pitching staff, because that seems to be the question typically in Game 3 of these series. So for Millsaps, is there any pressure on the arms today to replicate what Tarantino did, or do you think they'll approach this thing a little bit differently?
Well, I would say no one can replicate on either side what Nick Tarantino was able to do yesterday. 8 innings of work, and that's kind of run-of-the-mill for him, believe it or not. One of the best in the SAA, if not the best, likely in contention for Pitcher of the Year in this league. So don't bother, right? Don't bother trying to be somebody you're not. But the question, I think, certainly still looms large over the head of Stuart Boniface, who's going to get the start today for Millsaps. Gratefully for the majors, if you are Jim Page, you only had to use 2 relievers yesterday, which is pretty important. You used deep relief from Fred Fields in place of Will Wood in Game 2, and you only had to use Will Norris once in Game 1, but also had to use him again in Game 2. So no question, or I should say unsure right now whether or not Norris is going to be up today or available for the majors, but certainly you're relying on at least a decent start from Boniface, who has been up and down based on what numbers he's put up this season.
And to your point, we know it's going to be Stuart Boniface getting the start, but as you mentioned, they do have a lot of arms available in the bullpen. Do you expect Millsaps to lean more on the matchups in the bullpen today, or do they try to ride the starter as deep as they can?
I think I absolutely would gauge it based on how Boniface is going the first time through the order. I don't think the leash is particularly long necessarily. This being an important series, as you mentioned, these are 2 of the best teams in the SAA, and I think this game is particularly pivotal because if Rhodes is able to win it and take the series, they move within a game of first place, and that means hosting rights for the conference tournament come into play as these 2 teams go down the backstretch of the SAA schedule. So winning the game, paramount today for both sides, but in particular for Millsaps, I don't see any shyness necessary about changing pitchers if Jim Page feels like it's necessary.
So much on the line in this Game 3 rubber match. Both teams trying to land the final blow. For the home team, the Rhodes College Lynx, we saw their bats come alive in Game 2, lighting up the scoreboard, 13 hits, 7 runs. Do you think that was a one-off, or are they starting to figure out this Millsaps pitching?
I certainly think they figured out Will Wood, and that should be the case for a guy you've seen over the course of 6 seasons of college baseball. He has been here quite some time, and I think the Lynx able to find their way against an arm not named Tarantino was certainly good for their confidence. Obviously, when you start the series against an ace and you perform not that well, putting up only 3 runs against Tarantino, sometimes you start feeling like, well, what are we doing here? But frankly, sometimes it's just the guy on the other side who's doing it to you. So I think that was a great thing for the Rhodes bats to come alive, and they certainly put up the runs needed in Game 2, and they got the final tally in extra innings for their first extra innings win of the season. That was so important after going dormant for about 4 or 5 frames after putting up those 6 runs early.
And who in that Rhodes lineup really sparked things yesterday, and do they need that guy to step up again here today?
I mean, I think you could pick different guys. The quiet performance of the day came from Corbin Kinder, who was 4 for 5 in that second game, had the game-winning RBI in extra innings. But I love the consistency that we got from Ben Daniel. I thought he was incredibly important to how the Rhodes Lynx offense performed, just single after single, not necessarily anything flashy, but a guy who can get to his power. Yesterday, it was just clean base knocks, especially in that second game.
So coming off an exciting second game in which it took extra innings to put down the Millsaps Majors, the number 1 team in the league, talk about a little bit of the psychology. Coming into Game 3, you just came off the highest of highs, winning in Game 2 in extra innings on a walk-off. How does the Rhodes lineup kind of settle back down in their approach and get things going again in Game 3?
Well, I think part of it is you appreciate what Millsaps did defensively yesterday. We saw some tremendous defense on both sides. I went through my scorebook, and I counted at least 9 wild defensive plays just collectively between the two sides, and most of them coming from the Rhodes defense in order to preserve that win. I think you try and do some things differently in terms of putting pressure on Millsaps, Lay one down if you can, right? Like, make things difficult on guys like Gray Barry, who showed you how talented he was at third base, but mostly had to play the ball even with the bag, right? You didn't have anything where he necessarily had to come up and make a play or grab a bunt. So if you can try some different things and get some defenders out of position, I think you're in a better spot, and that can ignite some things for you if you're Rhodes, rather than just sort of playing straight up and trying to hit away.
Absolutely. Let's see what that Rhodes offense can do here today. We'll talk about their starter, Mick Arney, when we come back. We're going to step aside for just a moment while we honor our national anthem. We'll have the starting lineups and first pitch coming your way next. It's the rubber match between the Millsaps Majors and the Rhodes College Lynx on the Lynx Live Network.